The Lord's Prayer is 66 words long. The Gettysburg Address is 286 words long. The Declaration of Independence is 1,322 words long. But the government regulation for the sale of cabbage is 26,900. In the past 6 years, the President's EPA has added 25 million words of regulations. We've got a government that is literally run amok. God only knows how many words have been written to distinguish the greater prairie chicken from the lesser prairie chicken. Anybody here think Nevada needs more federal regulations in your land? Anybody think you might do a better job of managing the land? Obamacare was 2,000 words long. You remember Nancy Pelosi? She said you could read it after we passed it. Since then, unelected bureaucrats have added 20,000 pages of regulations. I have a novel idea. Why don't we repeal 2 regulations for every new one? Our freedom is at risk from a Supreme Court that fails to protect our liberty. In the mistake of the century, Justice Roberts affirmed the power of the state to force an individual to buy a certain type of insurance. Justice Roberts argued that we must presume Obamacare constitutional. I've got a better idea. Why don't we presume liberty? Just as we are presumed innocent, so too should we be presumed free. President Obama's fundamental promise that if you like your doctor, you can keep them was a lie. Obamacare at its very core takes away a patient's right to choose. I promise you this, as a doctor, I will make it my mission to heal this nation, reverse the course Obamacare has taken us upon, and to repeal every Our debt now equals our entire economy, and special interests continue to hold our government hostage. Together we will take our country back from these special interests. They use Washington as their own personal piggy bank. These special interests, they're more concerned with their personal welfare than the general welfare. The Washington machine that gobbles up our freedoms and invades every nook and cranny of our lives must be stopped. Expecting me to win. Even my wife. Some people ask me, well, why are you even running? The answer is the same now as it was then. I have a vision for America. An America that returns to prosperity. A true economic boom that lifts all Americans. Too often, when Republicans have won, we squandered our victory by becoming part of the Washington machine. That's not who I am. When I ran for office because I believed in the American dream. The truth is, I love my life. I love my life as a small town physician. For me, there's nothing that compares to helping someone see better. Last August, I traveled to Guatemala on a medical mission, and together with a team of surgeons from the University of Utah, we operated on over 200 people who've been previously blind or nearly blind from cataracts. One day in Guatemala, a man arrived and he told me that I had operated on his wife the day before. He said his wife could see clearly for the first time in years, and she had begged him to come back, winding roads through the mountains on the bus for several hours to have his eyes done. He too was nearly blind from hardened cataracts. After his surgery the next morning, his wife sat beside him, as we took his patch off, as we unveiled his eyes. I'll never forget the look on his face, the look on their faces, as they looked at each other clearly for the first time in years. To see the face they loved again. As I saw that joy in their eyes, I thought, this is why I became a doctor. I've been fortunate to enjoy the American dream. I worry, though, that the opportunity and hope are slipping away for our sons and daughters. As I watch our once great nation, our once great economy, seemingly collapsing under a mountain of spending debt. And I think, what kind of America will our grandchildren see? We need to wake up now and do the right thing. Just quit spending money we don't have. Vision for America. We need to go boldly forth under a banner of liberty, clutching the Constitution in one hand and the Bill of Rights in the other. Washington is horribly broken. I fear it can't be fixed from within. We, the people, must rise up and demand action. Congress will never balance a budget unless you force them to do so. Congress has an abysmal record with balancing anything. Our only recourse is to force Congress to balance the budget with a constitutional amendment. I have been to Washington, and let me tell you, there is no monopoly of knowledge. I ran for office because we have too many career politicians. I believe it now more than ever. We left the president to 2 terms. What about limiting all of Congress? That's why I've introduced it, Read the Bills Act.
Oh, awesome.
The bills are thousands of pages long and no one reads them. They gave me a bill last year, plopped it on my desk, 600 pages long, and it gave us an hour. And I said, well, isn't that against the rules? They said, oh yeah, and then they voted to override the rules for that particular bill. So I propose something truly extraordinary. Let's read the bill. Every page. From the time I was very young, I was taught to love and appreciate America. Love of liberty pulses in my veins. Not because we have beautiful mountains or white sand beaches, although we do. And not because of our abundance of resources and our great richness, it's more visceral than that. Our great nation was founded upon the extraordinary notion that government should be restrained and freedom should be maximized. America to me is that beacon. We are unique among nations in that our country stands for freedom. The freedom we've fostered in America has unleashed genius and advancement like never before. Yet our great nation still needs new ideas and new answers to old problems. Many Americans are left behind. The reward of work seems beyond their grasp. Under the watch of both parties, the poor seem to get poorer and the rich seem to get richer. $1 trillion government stimulus packages are handed out, and yet the income gap continues to widen. Politically connected cronies get taxpayer dollars by the hundreds of millions of dollars. Poor families across America, though, continue to suffer. I have a different vision, an ambitious vision. A vision that will offer opportunity to all Americans, especially those who've been left behind. My plan includes economic freedom zones. Appalachia, various parts of our country that are struggling. I understand a few people who are even struggling in Nevada. The way it would work is nobody bails you out. We don't send money from Houston or Atlanta to Nevada. We don't send money to Detroit. You know what we do to let you get bailed out? We let you keep more of your own money. In my vision for America, we'll bring back manufacturing jobs that they went. On American companies that wish to bring their profits up. There's $2 trillion of American profit overseas. In my vision for America, new highways and bridges will be built across the country, not by raising your taxes, but by lowering the tax on this American profit and inviting it home.
Ridiculous.
If that's true, why is black unemployment still twice white unemployment? Why has minority household income declined by $3,500 over the past 6 years? Liberal policies have failed our inner cities. Liberal policies have failed to alleviate poverty. Our schools are not equal, and the poverty gap continues to widen. You want to know where the income gap's greatest? Cities run by Democrats, states run by Democrats, and countries run by Democrats. Although I was born into the America that experiences and believes in opportunity, my trips to Detroit, Appalachia, and Chicago have revealed what I call as an undercurrent of unease in our country. Everyone, no matter their race, sex, or politics, must be free of fear in their own neighborhoods. The war on drugs has created tension in some communities that too often ends in tragedy. The war on drugs has created a culture of violence and put police in an impossible situation. 3 out of 4 people in jail for non-violent drug crimes are people of color. But if you look at the statistics, white kids are using illegal drugs at the same rate. But we've somehow snatched up so many people of one race that it is now unfair, and we should do something to make it fair. This may not be you. You may say, this isn't my family. We don't have any problem. But go meet people who live in poverty and ask them about their sons and why their sons seem to all be incarcerated, ill, and treated unfairly. Police are good people. The vast majority of policemen are good people. I believe that with all my heart. But we put them in an impossible situation. We set them up to be a problem because we are now policing and doing all of this stuff that really the government ought to stay out of. It's a health problem. It's not an incarceration problem. If a guy is selling loose cigarettes and not paying the king's ransom in taxes, couldn't we give him a ticket? Instead of offering him a payment. Somebody needs to lead the country. I am unafraid to challenge the status quo. Everyone in the country should be treated the same under the law, no matter what your religion is, no matter the color of your skin, no matter how poor or rich you are. Everybody should be treated equally. sticking them in failing public schools, and we need to offer them school choice, not just for the rich, Is it just me or anybody else thinks I'm wrong? If the president's kids get to go to a grade school, but if you're not rich, your kids are stuck in a crummy public school. I want the hard work and the achievement of today's college graduates to be rewarded with good paying jobs, the opportunities of thriving in common. It won't happen, though, unless we realize that we can't borrow our way to prosperity. Currently shown, $3 trillion comes into Washington. Couldn't we just live on $3 trillion?
Really? Oh, that makes too much sense.
In my vision for America, freedom and prosperity at home can only be achieved if we defend against enemies who are dead set on attacking us. Without question, we must defend ourselves and American interests from all of our enemies. But until we name the enemy, we can't win the war.
Yeah, hello. But we also need a foreign policy that protects American interests and encourages stability, not chaos. At home, conservatives understand that government is the problem, not the solution. But conservatives should not succumb to the notion that government inept at home will somehow be able to create nations abroad. I envision America with a national defense unparalleled, undefeatable, and unencumbered by overseas nation building. It promotes, as Reagan put it, peace through strength. We must realize that we do not project strength by borrowing money from China to send it to Pakistan. To build some bridges in our It angers me to see mobs burning our flag and chanting "Death to America" in countries that receive our aid by I say not one penny more in these hands. To defend our country, we need to gather intelligence on the enemy. But when the intelligence news director is not punished for lying under oath. How are we to trust our government? Warrantless searches of Americans' phone records and computer records are un-American and a threat to our civil liberties. Records are yours. I say the phone records of law-abiding citizens are none of their damn business. The President created this vast dragnet by executive order, not the first time he wrote the law. As President on day one, I will immediately end this unconstitutional We must defend ourselves, but we must never give up on who we are as a people in the process. We must never diminish the Bill of Rights as we fight this long war against evil. We must believe in our founding documents. We must protect economic and personal liberty. America has much greatness left in her. I've seen America strong enough to deter foreign aggression, yet wise enough to avoid unnecessary intervention. I've seen America with a restrained IRS that cannot target, cannot harass American citizens for their political or their religious beliefs. With your help, this message will ring from coast to coast. A message of liberty, justice, and personal responsibility. Today begins the journey to take America back.